All right, guys, we're going to come back with part two of our podcast, breaking down Clemson, getting ready for the Sugar Bowl. What we noticed so far is Clemson has a heavy quarterback run influence of their offense, very similar to what Oklahoma does, just more quarterback run centered. All right, we got a zone read right there. It's a little bit of a wrinkle in the zone read. So instead of everybody blocking right and reading the end, what Clemson did right there is everybody blocked right except for the left tackle. He blocked left, and then then the quarterback would read the linebacker inside that tackle. And that linebacker's kind of, because of the run pass option, has to stand flat footed. So he's not as aggressive. So there's all these little games, if the quarterback, it could have been a run pass option, he could have come flying down and then the slot receiver, go right behind him.
Got to be a really good disciplined defense, it looks like, to play Clemson.
Well, you better stop the run and hope, you can get away with everything else. That's kind of what it seems like to me. And I believe that's what Alabama's going to try to do. All right. Okay, they just run the play they call right there is what we called for years and years 69 or Texas Tech, because Mike Leach made a killing on that. It's just like a corner route or some type of out route by the slot, and then an under route with the outside receiver. Good first down play. All right. So we're going to say that's quarterback counter. That's faking the jet and quarterback counter. It looked like their hole might have been there. It looked like the quarterback might have went too wide. I don't know if there'll be a replay or not, but all right, let's see. All right, here we go. So you're going to see the back, the right, left. Oh, see, there's the hole right there. Yeah. He went too wide. So the left tackle and the left guard are both pulling. It's a counter. So faking jet left, quarterback counter right.
It's the same counter trade we saw Oklahoma run. They just ran it with the quarterback, right?
Yep. Same thing. Counter tray is as old as football is. It's been around forever. And there's, it's normally done with guard and tackle, although some teams run it with tackle and tight end or guard and tight end. But every team, for the most part, runs the counter tray. All right, got double twins stacked. All right, that's the element. Oh yeah, he's got great wheels, and that's the element. I don't believe that was the designed run or anything like that. I think it was designed to be rub routes, and it was covered, and so then he takes off. Mm-hmm. That's the real danger of facing a quarterback like Kelly. And when the offense moves at the tempo that Clemson moves at, it's so easy to
be out of position,
and be standing flat-footed.
Yeah. If they catch you, they've got speed at so many positions that's going to touch the ball. Any of them can take it to the house.
No, that definitely was not a design run. But what you see is when those receivers see that he's running, they go to blocking. Mm-hmm. And he's running away from a defensive back.
Right. He's an athlete.
Really good athlete. I'm super impressed at what Coach Sweeney has been able to build at Clemson.
Mm-hmm. All four of these quarterbacks in this thing are good athletes too.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
They can all pull it down and move. They all have really strong arms.
Right. So, news flash, really good defense and good quarterback play is kind of the key to being good at football. That's pretty much the way things work these days. And I don't see that changing ever.
Well, they're great at moving the chains, all these guys.
Right. They are. That's true. I think that's when people think about big time offenses, they think about explosive plays. But the true secret in most good offenses is just getting first downs and then having the kind of weapons that are going to turn those first downs into big plays.
Right. Yeah. Like you was talking about with Oklahoma, they want to hit those safe plays that they feel real confident. They're not risky, but they always have a chance to make a guy miss a tackle or two and go.
Right. All right. So Miami spread. Clemson's coming out in a more of a nickel type package. You see their inside linebackers communicating to move their defensive line over a gap. That's something that they prepared, and you can tell they're coached up like crazy. It's impossible, especially watching this in real time like this, not breaking it down and going. I'm watching it with you. So it's hard to know exactly what they're doing, but what you can tell is they're communicating. All right. They're running right there. That was just a man-free defense.
What do you mean by that, man-free?
Okay, man-free means you're going to be playing man across the board with one high safety. Okay, so you're going to have your corners are in man. You're going to have an outside linebacker, and in this case, a nickel in man, or a safety and a nickel in man, and then you're going to have your free safety just kind of playing center field over the top. When you see man free, it normally means there's going to be some type of pressure coming. All right, so it's third and 10, another nickel type package. They're showing blitz, but see, they blitz, but they don't blitz from the side they're showing it from. So they're showing one blitz. Those guys are bailing out, and then they're bringing pressure from the other side. That's a staple of Venables' defense, and they're diagramming that right now. So they're backing out, and then the defensive back and the linebacker from the offense's left are coming, which it forces the quarterback to make a quick throw. That's really good defense. Really, you can just tell they're aggressive and they're hard. And they're coached up. And you can also feel this thing starting to snowball.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Miami, you're getting in I think Coach Rick's face says it all right there. He's seen enough to kind of know what's going on right now.
That's another thing I've thought about with Georgia in this thing. Clemson and Alabama, they're used to being here. Oklahoma is used to this spotlight. I'm kind of curious to see how Georgia's going to react to it.
Right. Well, I do believe that going through – even though the East has not been that good, the SEC East, SEC games are a big atmosphere.
True.
So I think that helps. I've seen insides. I didn't realize how much Clemson runs the inside zone. They run it and run it and run it and run it and run it.
If you're gaining 3 or 4 yards to pop at it.
That's true. That is true.
I will say this. I know they're facing a really good defensive line. I like Oklahoma's O-line better than Clemson's from what I've seen so far.
You think?
I think so.
Well, I don't know. I don't believe I agree with that. I think that one thing is, don't forget how much Oklahoma struggled getting short yardage.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And TCU's front is not Miami's front.
That's right.
So, but Oklahoma does pass block very well.
Very, very, very well.
Right.
They pick up blitz as well.
But I believe from what I've seen so far, I would take Clemson. Now all right. So that was a tight formation where you would expect Clemson to do some kind of rollout, but they swapped the strength. All that right there, they're just trying to get all of that was just to try to get Miami to either jump. That's the first thing they're wanting them to do with all that motion. Mm-hmm. Is hopefully somebody will lunge and they'll get an easy first down. Or 2, if they don't jump, to hopefully get them misaligned and pick up an easy first down. Now, that's a small thing that a lot of offenses don't worry about taking the time to do it. But it's
first down, right?
It's built into Clemson's game plan. And a lot of coaches. As a coach, I always run up tempo, no huddle, and coaches would always want to know, how do you get all those motions and all of the different plays and the different sets, and how do you doing that with such little communication and without a huddle? And I said, well, you just tell them. So they're just calling out what they're doing, and they know that Miami don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can sit around people speaking Spanish all day, but if you don't speak Spanish, you don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So tell them not to go nowhere. There's no play.
All right, that right there, that's part of the game. You're starting to kind of see this from Clemson a couple times. It's part of the game that is, I would guess, that probably is going to worry Coach Saban more than anything.
What's that?
That's that you can do everything right defensively and still give up a big play.
Mm-hmm.
They covered the people that needed to be covered. They got decent push up front, but the quarterback made a play. He was able to keep the play alive long enough to get somebody open. So
Ryan has played really well in this game too. I mean, when you watch much of it, he played well.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm just very impressed with what Clemson's been able to put together. All right, so Clemson, they're in what's called trio. Trio left, trips away from the tight end, and they motion across, pulling that defensive back out, and then they run their suit. What's going on right there is they come out in trio, and it's a zone formation. Let's see if I can pull that back somehow.
Trio just means trips to one side.
Yep. All right, let's see if we can get back to the beginning of that. I went back a little bit too far. All right. So when I say trio, it's going to be trips on. So if it's trio left, it's going to be trips left, and then there'll be a tight end on the right side. Okay, so you see the tight end right here on the right, and then you got trips on the left. So they come out. They call trio left. They come out and they see that it's trio left, and then they look and they see they got a corner sitting on the edge over there, which means he's playing the edge. They want to get him removed from that edge, so they're gonna motion this guy across. And when they do that, it's going to bump that corner out. Now, that's one less guy that's got to be blocked. All right? So then they run it right there, and it's a 9-yard pickup. So that's a good offensive play of 9 yards that is developed because of – I mean, you got to have great blocking. You got to have a good back and all that. But the scheme and the motion is what set that up. And one thing that you see out of Clemson is they like playing these games with overloading an edge. And I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of that because the tendency for a defensive coordinator normally is to overdo defending that edge. So what you just see, they overdo the right and they run it back left and they get yards again. All right? And when Clemson gets down around here, they're just going to pound it.
Yeah. You're talking about how well put together Oklahoma's offense is. I mean, I'm assuming Clemson's is the same way, just really well put together.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's a little bit more dynamic because of their quarterback, but Clemson's good enough to beat anybody they play.
Right.
And they're not quite as explosive, and that's more about personnel and ability of the quarterback, but they're really good. I will say I feel like Clemson's really maximizing their talent. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
You're not always going to have Deshaun Watson.
That's right.
If Deshaun Watson is their quarterback, and this is not meant as a slight against Kelly. It just so happens that Deshaun Watson, has been one of the best quarterbacks in the last, 5 to 10 years that we've seen in college football.
Yeah.
Kelly's really good, and Kelly's good enough to win a national championship, but the offense is not going to be as explosive without a guy like that.
That's exactly right. So much goes on with the quarterback position in these offenses.
Oh, yeah. It's every snap. And Clemson saw something right there that they didn't like. When you have a quarterback that can hurt you with his legs the way Kelly can, and what it seems like to me, the kind of turning point, I believe, in Clemson's season this year is when they decided to kind of feature Kelly's legs as much as anything else. Mm-hmm. And that's dangerous to do that, but to be as good as you can be, you sometimes as a coach, you just got to say, hey, we're going to throw caution to the wind. We're going to run our quarterback and hope that it works out.
And you get some favorable coverages when your quarterback can run like he can. It's hard to turn your back to a quarterback that can run like that.
That's exactly right. That's a good call. And that's a great job by the Clemson offensive line. They just ran a goal line play and the guy did not get touched, which doesn't happen a whole lot.
Good D-line too.
Against a really good D-line. That's right. And that's just old down kick play that, every high school in the country runs, but hey, they run it because it works.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like we've seen enough right now to have a pretty good idea on what we've seen out of Clemson. So I'm going to stop kind of breaking the game down, and we're just going to sit for a minute and kind of reflect a little bit on what we've seen.
We watched that Oklahoma TCU, and we were just really impressed with Oklahoma. Put up 38 points and a half against TCU. Clemson is doing the same thing right here to a good Miami defense. They haven't put up 38, but they've got 21, and they're not really slowing down.
Right, and they're controlling. They're doing what they want to do.
Absolutely what they want to
do. And that's key. A good offense, the offense that scores the most points is not necessarily the best offense. Mm-hmm. I would say the best offense is the offense that does what they want to do. Clemson's doing exactly what they want to do.
Exactly what they want to do.
They're controlling the game. They're in control of what's going on around them. They're imposing their will. They're running the football. They're making big plays in the passing game. They're really, really put together. And defensively,
they're lights out.
They're lights out. Arguably the best defensive team in the country, with arguably the best defensive coordinator in the country. The tremendous scheme. They're physical. They play downhill, and they keep you off balance. You don't know. They're going to bring pressure. You don't know who's going to be bringing that pressure. Here's what you do know. Their defensive line is going to kick your behind. You know that's going to happen. Their defensive line is going to whip Alabama's offensive line. Now, Alabama's defensive line feels like they're going to whip Clemson's offensive line. And that's going to be the battle. If one offensive line, if Alabama's offensive line beats Clemson's defensive line, Alabama's going to win the game, and vice versa.
I just don't really see anybody whipping that Clemson D-line. But
no, I don't either. And I'm not sitting here saying, and I've kind of been bragging a little bit on Clemson's offensive line, and I think they're good, but they're going to face, a test that, hey, Auburn's got a really good defensive line, and they struggled against Auburn.
Mm-hmm. But Miami's got a good D-line.
They do.
They've got is it Chad Thomas at end? They've got
right.
They've got ball players all up and down that D-line, and Clemson's really doing what they want to do with it.
That is true. Well, so kind of basically what I see out of Clemson is they're a team that's really coached well. You see them doing a lot of shifting up front with the defensive line. I love that because any little thing that makes the O-line have to think about who they've got slows them down just a little bit. But to me, Clemson is a team that they have the right attitude. Their coach has them thinking the right way. They play really aggressive. They have championship schemes on both sides of the ball. They know how to win close games. They know how to go out on a big stage and dominate somebody. You know, like they dominated Ohio State last year. They dominated Miami right here in the ACC championship game. They also know how to go win those tight, hard-fought games.
That's right.
They are a complete program.
Absolutely. And we've talked about how Mayfield was, he's the Heisman winner. We're talking about how great we really bragged on Roquan Smith at linebacker. Dexter Lawrence at D tackle with Clemson is that type of player.
Yeah, he's probably the best defensive lineman in the country.
Or Chubb,
Yeah, at NC State, that guy's really good. And that guy out in Houston is really good. But as a unit, I don't think there's a better group than Clemson's defensive line. But anyway, guys, it's been really fun breaking Clemson down. If you've got any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. And like I said, we enjoyed it. And next we'll be breaking down Alabama.